Welcome to another episode, everyone, of Reactionary Politics. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not done so. And now let's watch Jasmine Crockett as she absolutely destroys Jim Jordan. She says that he was running around scared on January 6th. Let's get into it.
Officials.
One final question.
One quick final question.
Do you really believe that President Trump thinks he lost that election?
Yes. Our investigation following the facts and the law determined that...
No way, thank you, that's enough.
I have a unanimous consent request.
From New York is recognized for unanimous consent.
Actually, I have two. One is to article entitled, "With AG Bondi next to him, Trump says deranged Jack Smith must be investigated." And the other is a tweet from Marco Rubio. "There is nothing patriotic about what is occurring on Capitol Hill. This is third world style anti-American anarchy."
Without objection. Gentlelady from Texas is recognized.
Can I get an extra 33 seconds?
You get your full 5 minutes.
Well, okay, fine. It's curious because you've sat here all day, and thank you so much for showing up, because this was something that you wanted to do. The Republicans wanted to make sure that you were hid in a room with no cameras, because I was there. They didn't really want you out public because they were afraid of what you would say, which is that you could have proven your case because you are a career prosecutor who knows how to prosecute criminals. So just to be clear, today it seems like the Republicans have not really fought very much about whether or not Trump was guilty or not. In fact, their fight seems to be over whether or not you were authorized to prove their guilt. Do you recall a number of Republican members asking about whether or not your appointment was okay, even though we know that you've testified about the more than 100-year precedent that allowed for your appointment?
I was asked questions about that today, and our position, as we filed in our appeal, is that there was strong support for my appointment, including Supreme Court precedent directly on point.
Thank you so much. Additionally, everybody's been all gingerly here today, but I don't know why we're acting surprised that a man who had close to 90 allegations out of 4 different jurisdictions and ultimately ended up with 34 convictions after a jury was able to hear all the evidence would possibly be committing a criminal act on January 6th. In fact, considering the fact that we are now under the impression that he is violating people's due process rights, he is ignoring court orders, he's starting wars without congressional authority in contradiction to the Constitution. He's enriching himself to the tune of over $1.4 billion. He's shaking down electeds to draw maps that will help him stay in power because the Republicans don't understand that they swore an oath to the Constitution and that we are supposed to do checks and balances. He's also shaking down TV stations to get money. So why are we trying to pretend as if it is out of the realm for this particular man to commit the crime that he committed on January 6th, and frankly, the only reason he ran for president was to make sure that he would not be prosecuted, because I fully believe that you would have put him under the jail based on our long-form conversation that we had. But according to your special counsel report on page 137, it states the department's view that the Constitution prohibits the continued indictment and prosecution of a president is categorical and does not turn on the gravity of the crimes charged, the strength of the government's proof, or the merits of the prosecution. And that, quote, but for Mr. Trump's election and imminent return to the presidency, the office assessed that the admissible evidence was sufficient to obtain and sustain a conviction at trial. In other words, Donald Trump ran for president, like I said, so he wouldn't have to spend the rest of his life in prison. The chairman and other members of this committee have spent all day attacking you and trying to
Yes, we know this because she's referring to that. She keeps saying that because that's the theory on Trump and why he ran for another term after he tried to steal the election. And he clearly tried to steal the election, and he ran for another term because a sitting president cannot be prosecuted. So as long as he holds the seat, he feels like he can get away with these crimes that he was already convicted of, as she just alluded to, 34 felonies. So most people believe that this is why Trump ran again and is in the White House. She's attacking this. She's attacking why Trump was reelected, why he ran for president, and she's just saying that these individuals here in the committee always act as if Trump is above what happened on January 6th, as if he could not get his hands dirty with that, as if he was not involved with that, when the evidence is clear that he was absolutely involved in this. He's pardoned nearly everyone involved with the January 6th attack, a bunch of hypocrites. He claims that he's for the police. He doesn't want to defund the police, and he wants the police to have immunity for whenever they kill a black man, because he loves the police so much. And yet his cronies attacked the police on January 6th and killed some of them, beat them with pipes, sticks, and whatever they can find, bricks, bust down windows, ran in the Capitol, pointed guns at them, all sort of stuff. And he pardons them and agrees with, with their treachery. I thought you supported the police and you cared about the police, Donald Trump. No, only when it supports him and his agenda. The man doesn't care about anyone. So, no, clearly he's guilty of what transpired on January 6th. And these spineless Republicans, devoid of a backbone, constantly try to make excuses for him, or just absolutely lie for him and refuse to stand up for him, just like the Democrats. I just said the other day that the Democrats, 153 of them voted to send $3.3 billion to Israel. And people were saying in the comments, so what? The Democrats are standing up for them. It was 188 Republicans that voted for it. Instead of, so no Democrats were supposed to vote for that. Zero. What are you talking about? They're supporting war and genocide. A bunch of spineless fakes, man.
Right, the history of January 6th. But Mr. Jim Jordan, the chairman, failed to mention how he was running around the Capitol terrified by the possibility that all those insurrectionists would harm him. In fact, on page 97 of the deposition transcript, you mentioned how Mark Meadows, the president's chief of staff, quote unquote, never saw Jim Jordan so scared. The chairman also failed to mention that he was in direct contact with the White House in the days leading up to and on January 6th, which is why his toll records were subpoenaed by your office. Let me be clear, because they're trying to act like this is Democrats on Republicans, and I guess you are a covert Democrat that knew that he was going to try to steal an election before he tried to steal that election, and so therefore you were somehow put into place. I mean, the conspiracy theories make your head spin, but nevertheless, were you going to subpoena the toll records of every single Republican simply because they were a Republican?
No, we subpoenaed the toll records in the course of this investigation because they were relevant to our investigation.
Relevant. Oh, okay. All right. So that means something about facts. So let's talk about facts. Donald Trump lost to Joe Biden, yes or no?
That's correct.
Okay. In fact, 60 federal and state courts have found that there was no evidence of election fraud. Trump's own attorney general and vice president knew that he lost the election, but he still tried to steal the election by pressuring state officials, designing fake elector plans, nearly having Mike Pence hanged, and ultimately demanding that his supporters, quote, fight like hell, correct?
Correct.
Correct. Yes, correct. I can answer that. Correct. 60 federal courts have said that there was no election fraud. They've been said this, that no one tried to steal the election, that Trump is the liar, that Trump is lying, Trump is trying to steal the election. Independent investigators came to this conclusion over and over and over again. Evidence is everywhere that Trump tried to steal the election, not the other way around.
We all saw it happen once they reached, we all saw what happened once they reached the U.S. Capitol. As your report outlines, President Trump knew that he would incite violence at the Capitol that day. In fact, some of Trump's senior advisors were pushing for violence. For example, page 81 of the report details how co-conspirators number 2, Jan' 6, tried to convince Mike Pence to break the law, stating that, quote, violence was necessary. So it isn't just Trump who is responsible for the death of multiple law enforcement officers and the injuries of thousands of people. A lot of Republican members of Congress are also responsible. 147 Republicans voted to overturn the 2020 election results, including multiple members currently serving on this committee, and I will yield.
Gentlelady yields. Gentleman from North Carolina is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Smith, we've heard a lot of information that's gone across.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. She dismantled their whole theory, as she typically does. She ethered them, destroyed them with facts, brutal facts. Trump is a crook. He's been convicted as so. He is a criminal. He stole the election, tried to steal the election. He supports officers being brutally beaten and unalive. As long as the people who are doing it were his people, are his supporters. And that's who did it. Trump supporters. Right-wing, Republican, MAGA, fascist, racist attacked the Capitol. Unalived, brutalized police officers, and Trump pardoned them. I don't want to hear nothing about you caring about the police and you want to grant them immunity when they kill a black man. I don't want to hear that. You don't care about the police. You sent your people was there to kill the police. Your cabinet members, Mike Pence, Jim Jordan, running around there scared to death, terrified. They never seen him as scared as he was on January 6th, someone reported. I've never seen him that scared. And now y'all all covering for Trump. The same one had y'all running around scared for y'all life. Get out of here, man. A bunch of spineless dudes that don't have a backbone. Jasmine Crockett needs to continue to attack these neo-fascist, neo-Nazi MAGAs. Stay safe, stay free, and power to the people.